He applies the Lego concept to that flexibility, and he says, we as the brand team or the strategists, we give people the Legos that they can use to build. What they build is entirely up to their creativity. So we've mentioned the verbal, yeah. So I think that this is why branding, like brand strategy organizations exist, because they will look at it and they will build it holistically. I haven't seen a good brand strategy tech that doesn't include both visual and verbal, so they totally get it. And they'll go into the narratives, into the messaging, et cetera, giving examples and trying to really build out those guidelines. So that's fantastic. You just need, I think you need somebody internally that will then kind of be the guardian of that, so to speak. And that's why I mentioned the editor-in-chief. Brand is a combination of probably words that people hear quite often nowadays. I just think that maybe how they're used is sometimes incorrect, but it's a combination, I think, of purpose for sure. And your purpose doesn't, okay, so make no mistake, purpose is not like social activism, yeah? Your purpose could be to just make a really great freaking product, which probably, I don't know, maybe Apple is a good example of that, to be like the most useful thing ever in the products that they create. No, please don't, just for the sake of, putting it into your PR, to go back to what we were saying, because that probably means that it's unsustainable, and probably you might, who knows, maybe you're doing more harm than good. It's totally possible. Purpose can really be just, it's really why did you create this company? Or why are you still here? What do you want to bring to the world? It really can be as simple as that. It's overcomplicated, but it can be as simple as that. The complicated part is how do you drive that through the organization, for sure. And that's where I think you have, on one side you have strategy, and on the other side you have culture. So you kind of have like the what and the how, so to speak. And, as we've seen, culture sometimes is, as they say, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Okay, in some cases, I've really seen that, because at the end of the day, I really believe that how can be way more important than what. Imagine if all the companies that were created today didn't go into the market because there's somebody already in there. Somebody's already making soap. So I can't possibly open a company because somebody's making soap. Hence, we realize how absurd that sounds. Hence, the how and the purpose that is behind that how is probably what's driving a lot of this, and a lot of the inception of this, and a lot of the success of these companies. Now, like I said, the sustainability part is the hard part. Sustainability in the sense of like keeping it going, not sustainability in the sense of green, but keeping it going is what is the difficult part. And this is where a lot of the structures and the processes internally make sense. It's not about consistency. So Kodak was also consistent, yeah? And look where that ended up. It's not about that. It's about how do you blend flexibility and coherence? Like, how do you give people, how should I say this? Give people the tools, or as Nanebos, if you haven't followed him, you should. He's a good friend of mine, and he applies the Lego concept to that flexibility, and he says, we as the brand team or the strategists, we give people the Legos that they can use to build. What they build is entirely up to their creativity at the end of the day. So there is this flexibility in the environment and in the company, but guess what? At the end of the day, because those Legos were built very well and the barriers were set in a way that made sense, that space in between is still completely coherent. Everything that everybody creates with that flexibility is still coherent and on brand. This balance, only the greats in terms of brands have achieved this balance of flexibility and coherence. And I really think that that's the process, like the process that sustains everything we just said about, from purpose to strategy and culture to, the importance of how versus what. I think it all comes back to the process that you build that respects this balance as much as possible between flexibility and coherence, more so than consistency, because consistency can feel limiting to people. And that means that already you start on the wrong foot. It's important for people to stick to the guidelines, for sure, but don't get people to, I don't know how to say, imagine that you've educated somebody properly internally on what the brand means, and they're super involved and willing to try it. But man, you have to give some leeway, really, because this is difficult for people. And if you have somebody that's trying, really, and you sit there and you, I don't know, come at it from a point of fear, then it's, you know, that environment is not conducive to anything. So yeah, the guidelines are not, you know, like, I don't want to say laws, but they're guidelines of, you know, again, the Legos. But you cannot possibly police what happens when people build with those Legos. It's your job to make the Legos exactly what they needed to be in order to then let people build with them. This is why the analogy is so good. When you police, just like probably a lot of things that happen in our personal lives, remember that you probably also hold a little bit of the responsibility as to why that happened, whatever that may be that needs or requires policing. So you have to take it with a grain of salt as an opportunity to learn. And like you see with a bit of the trend in public public discourse now, it's okay to make mistakes. Brands are very much like humans. They have personalities, they have voice. You can align very well. And if you don't make mistakes, then yeah, what is that? And honestly, when you make mistakes, it's probably some of the best moments for you to show who you really are and how you handle things. You know, in Romanian we have this saying, like, you know, your true friends are shown in times of you know, contention or conflict or adversity or hardship or this kind of thing. Same concept here.